All right, so I know a lot of you guys out there don't know much about politics. You basically what you know is just those 5 minute little clips that you see on the news, which is the same thing that my dad does. And I want to give you guys a moment to kind of think about this stuff. And I'm sure you guys have seen that Rudy Giuliani has been in the media, and I'm not pronouncing his name. I have a hard time pronouncing it, Giuliani. But anyways, this is Trump's lawyer, who's also the governor of New York when 9/11 took place. Now, he was a national hero, and then all of a sudden, the narrative flipped, and now he is supposed to be like the worst guy on the planet, and he's just a piece of garbage. And a lot of people, if you don't understand what is going on with the media and how bad it is, and how completely and utterly subjective it is to one opinion, you might believe this. But if you watch the Dr. Phil show and they do an interview with him, and I'll link it in the description so you guys can go find it. I want you guys to kind of just listen for a few minutes. I want to kind of analyze it and then we'll talk about it because I think it's really good for this community to understand dirty politics.
Hire me and follow me. Maybe yes, or maybe they increased it. I don't know. I do know that I only have one way of winning it, and that is proving the truth of what I consider my cause, their cause. Until we're honest about who they are and what they've done to people, we won't be fixed. I remember when I first got involved in this, I didn't believe they were as bad as they turned out to be. And I think an awful lot of other people are back where I used to be. They're not as bad as they turned out to be. And I'm a particular target because I'm particularly dangerous. It isn't a whole number of people that developed the criminal information on Joe Biden. It was there for 30 years. There's only one person who found it, and that's me.
All right, so you guys are going to hear in a few minutes, he's going to talk about how he discovered Joe Biden's corruption. So for those of you who don't really know what I'm talking about, there's a lot of stuff, and I'll just kind of throw it in there real quick, and then we're going to kind of analyze it and look at it and look at the organization of Watchtower and how it's very similar. So he discovered that Joe Biden was taking money from the Chinese government. We know about $20 million. We know that he was using his son as a go-to person, which is Hunter Biden, which is the guy who's famous about the laptop that tried to cover up, who was also a crackhead. He was taking money third person through him and then sending it to his dad and other people. The Bidens have something like 20 or 30 umbrella companies. And an umbrella company is a company that exists on paper but isn't a real company. And so you use these fake umbrella companies in order to filter money to make it look like there's a reason why you have revenue when you don't. This is really common with the mafia. This is really common with churches. This kind of behavior is criminal, and it's really common for dirty money to be laundered this way. And that's what was discovered. Now, there's a documentary about this called The Red Dragon. You can go and find it. It's on like Tubi and stuff like that. You might have to pay to watch it if you really want. And there's a step-by-step explanation of the company's names, how they know what they're. Some people even went and visited these companies. You'd go and find out that they would be in addresses and they would be in alleys or not even actually real companies. So that's what I want to talk about. And this was exposed. But the problem with this is congressmen, senators, people knew this about Joe Biden. It's not like this just came out. It was a total accidental finding. People knew how dirty he was and what he was doing. And they had known it for 30 plus years. Now, I want you to think about the organization. And I want you to think about the CSA issue and how elders can know about these problems, not tell anyone about it, and keep it to themselves. They know what is right and they know what to do. And so what happened to Giuliani is that when he exposed this corruption, which nobody was willing to do, the media and everybody attacked him. And then the way they attacked him was obviously they want to take away his finances. So they put lawsuits against him because he said that there was rigging of elections in the Trump election that he lost to Joe Biden. Now, I know that everyone was saying that this wasn't happening. The media was saying there's no evidence of this. Right here and right now, we know for a fact that that's not true. We know that investigations are taking place right now. We know that the machines that were used to take those ballots, number one, were backdoored to Cuba, and they were coming from communist countries. We also know that the company said that there was no backdoors to those machines. We now know that that wasn't true and that they weren't safe and that they were an open system. Now, just to keep it really simple, you guys don't know what I'm talking about. It just means that the way those machines are supposed to operate is you can't tamper with them from an outside source. You can tamper with them, and we know you can because we have those models, and this has been found out by people who specialize with that technology. So basically, there is a backdoor, it's Wi-Fi, or the backdoor could be a USB. There was multiple backdoors with those models. We also know that people have come forward and said, yes, they were involved in fraud. They knew about it. We've caught people. There are an enormous amount of cases that you can look up because cases like this go into a special government document. And if you go and look at that document, which I can't remember what the name of it is, and if I do remember it, maybe I'll link it, but you can see the corruption from different states and who's been prosecuted. And so we know for a fact that this was taking place because people have been charged and prosecuted for doing these crimes. And now we find out that Giuliani is being charged for hundreds of millions of dollars for exposing crimes that did take place. And I want you guys to think about that and think about the way the Watchtower works. What happens to you if you, the member of the organization, Little Jehovah Witness, says something that the organization is doing is wrong? They come after you as a collective. They destroy your reputation. And if you have a business, they will call that business. They will make fake claims about you or pay people to do that to shut you down. They'll also tell members not to go to you. So if you have a business that was catering to Jehovah's Witnesses, you just lost your business. Now, does that sound familiar? Because it should, because everyone here and everyone knows that's what they do. And there's no denying it. So remember that fact and think about what Watchtower does to its members, and then think about what the Democrat Party administration is doing to its members, which is us.
It was given to me by an intermediary with John Mac Isaacs because no one else that John would give it to had the guts to go with it. I went to a very distinguished United States senator and asked him if he would do it. And he said, no, he wouldn't do it to another senator. I'm the sole reason that the information came out in the first place. I gave it to, eventually, the FBI didn't want it. I gave it to Hannity and to John Solomon, so I'd have some allies. Then I gave it to the State Department, and the head of the State Department, who wants to be president, was afraid to go forward with it. Then when I finally got the hard drive, which proved that everything I was giving them a year and a half earlier was true, they basically, that's when they started. Well, actually, the FBI started to follow me the day I made my first allegation against Biden. So they followed me and took my iCloud account for 3 to 4 years and have done everything to try to destroy me. The thing about my being an alcoholic, which is completely untrue, it's a rumor that they started. I'm not even going to mention 100 others that never stuck. I don't know that anybody has a proper understanding of how pervasive and effective Chinese, particularly, and Russian propaganda is.
So let's kind of think about that in the world of Watchtower. So I know when I spoke out about the CSA going on at the West Valley congregation, they went around and told people that I was a drug addict, I was an alcoholic, and that I was a womanizer, and that I was sleeping with married women. These are all the rumors that were going around about me when I was in high school. Now, I'm just going to tell you, surprise, surprise, none of those things were true. I didn't do hardcore drugs. I wasn't an alcoholic, and I certainly wasn't sleeping with married women because at the time they're doing this, I was in high school and I was still a virgin. Now, Can I prove that to you guys? No, but I can tell you the experience and what they did to me. And they did the exact same to my friend Roger. He has the exact same story, exact same playbook. What I'm trying to say to you is this behavior is satanic. This behavior is something that they do. And when I say that, think about that. The same playbook, the same moves, the same ideology, the same playbook is done over and over and over again. So that's why when I see this and I hear this, it gets to me personally. Because I remember what it was like when Watchtower did this exact same thing to me, trying to destroy my credibility, trying to destroy my character, because they knew that I knew that they were doing evil things and that they were lying. And so their only way to stop people from listening to me is to lie about me, frame me, and make things up about me and destroy my character. That's the same thing they do in the Giuliani. That's the same thing they're doing to Trump. And I'm hoping that people are catching on and realizing that they are lying and that the things they're saying are not true. The difference between Trump and Biden is a compulsive liar and hides everything he does from everybody. Trump openly tells you the things that he does and says, even if people aren't going to like it. There's a difference between a person who is honest and a person who is not honest. So I'm not saying Donald Trump is perfect. I'm not even saying that he's like, he's slept with a lot of women and a lot of people don't like that. I am looking at him as, what is he doing right now? As a leader of the United States of America, what has he done for us? And what have they tried to silence him about? If they're trying to silence you for something, for speaking the truth, what is so scary to someone who is wrong and evil? There's nothing scarier than them being outed and the truth coming out. So you think about that when you listen to Giuliani continue the rest of this information. And I want you to think about how you think about him, and then now how you're thinking about him once you find out actual factual truth from the individual. That you can look up yourself in court, documented, and see that he said is true. And you'll see that they lie to protect themselves, to lie to you about the honesty of good people telling the truth. Because pieces of crap hate the truth.
I've lived off it for 80 to 90 years. So they've demonized me in the minds of people that are susceptible to that. Demonize me completely or demonize me partially. And the people that they've demonized me partially, I can get back. So I try to do things like I show them, you hated me because I talked to you about Russian collusion not being true. And I said some really tough things, but isn't the final result that I'm telling the truth, that Russian collusion is not true, and Joe Biden and that whole group are lying to you about it? And isn't it true that the idea that Trump offered a bribe to the president of Ukraine untrue? And didn't I tell you all about that? And isn't it true that there was a bribe to the president of Ukraine? And here it is. So now I haven't gotten there yet with the election, but I'm getting there.
Who discovered and...
Yeah, so Giuliani is definitely a boss. So I just want to show you guys what exactly I'm talking about. So remember, we now know that the election fraud did take place. There's actual evidence that certain states did have fraud, and we know it for a fact now. Now, that evidence was brought into courts, and most of it was just thrown out and dismissed and acted like none of this was true. Now, this is the part that I want you guys to pay attention to. For talking about Hunter Biden's laptop, that's where this is all coming from. He is the one who discovered Hunter Biden's laptop and brought it to the mainstream. Because of that, they are charging him $148 million. Now, do you know what was on Hunter's laptop? Drug use, underage girls, connections with Chinese businessmen, bribery, collusion. I mean, there is no way that anybody else who wasn't a hardcore Democrat son, if this was anybody else's son, they would be in prison for life right now. And the fact that they try to act like Hunter Biden was the victim is insane. Think about that. He's the victim of this terrible lawyer exposing him trafficking people, bribery, drugs. Like, that's insane. So when you start to pick up these patterns that you see with Democrats, and you start to notice these patterns with Republicans, because there are bad Republicans, there are bad Democrats, there are good Democrats, and there are good Republicans. And it's all based on what they're actually doing. And I don't want to point that out, but it's just, for the most part, the Democrat Party is so powerful, so deeply enthralled with the Chinese government and crime in general, generally crime in general, organized crime. They hate this guy. Remember, this is the guy who brought down the mob. This is the guy who helped people and helped bring the country together during 9/11. There is no greater enemy than the guy who knows how to put organized crime down. So everything they do to him makes sense because they're terrified that he is going to find out the information about them. Remember, he talked about he has the database, right? And he has all the database to prove all the things that he said. What do you think Watchtower happened to Watchtower? Remember the database, the child abuse database that they had that was released to the courts? Like, this is Watchtower and the Dems are so closely connected and act so similar that it is insane for me to tell people this and them not see this. I don't know how a normal person could not recognize this. It blows my mind that there are 8 million Jehovah's Witnesses out there who can't see this. It's truly scary. Here is a super, super simple way to judge people, folks. You judge them by their actions. Not what other people say. You judge them by what they do. Because people who hate you are going to lie about you. And people who like you are probably going to fib about you and make you look better than what you really are. The truth of the matter is you are the truth of what the matter, or the truth of the matter is that you are the truth. What you truly do and what you truly say and what you truly act on is the truth about you. So when you hear the organization talking about, we're going to tell you the truth has no meaning unless you know where the truth comes from. If one claims to have truth, but has no idea where one's truth comes from, they truly have nothing. And I mean that. If you can't validate the things that they're saying, why believe them? Now, if you have somebody who has been consistently honest with you, tells you the truth, proves it, and then they say something to you, then yes, I could understand why you're going to go ahead and believe them. But even then, you should still, as a matter of fact, take the time to research what they say. Like, for an example, I don't have any good examples to give you, but I know in the past I have given you false information. Oh, for an example, there was a photo of Charles Taze Russell in a full uniform that was a full Masonic uniform. Now, I analyzed the photo. I sent it out there. I was completely blown away by it. I shared it with people. I actually analyzed the photo and found the original photo, and it had been doctored and it had been edited. And I could have said, hey, I want people to believe that we have a photo proving that Charles Taze Russell was a Mason, besides the written record and the statements, the physical photo evidence. But as soon as I found out it was a lie, what did I do? I showed everyone, I apologized and said that I was tricked, but I found out it wasn't accurate. And I showed you what I saw and then the actual original photo to prove that I wasn't going to lie to you guys. And that's what I expect from politicians. And that's not what we get. And so that's why most politicians, I hate them. And that's why I want more Donald Trumps out there. I want people who would be straight with you and tell you what they think and then give you the information. I don't want this bullshit. I don't want Biden's. I don't want Clinton's. I don't want none of those pieces of crap. I want people to be straight up and tell me the truth, even if I don't like it. So I want you guys to give me your honest opinion. Do you think Rudy Giuliani is being scammed? Or do you think that he's this great master criminal and was just tricking everybody this entire time? Now, everybody's entitled to your opinion. But the only thing is, though, opinions are just opinions. There's only one fact out there, and that's really all that matters. But I'm curious. Do you think I'm right? Is Giuliani going after the bad guys and they're just trying to frame him? Or is he a bad guy? What do you think? Did I give you something interesting to talk about? Do you like it? Do you believe me? I hope so. And I really hope that it shows at the polls.